Hello everybody, welcome back to 2CTV with some breaking news from Syria. The civil war in the country is escalating. Bashar al-Assad's presidential palace has been captured by the Islamist rebels, and the Russian forces have started to hit back at the Turkish supported nutters. Now we're going to give you guys all the information that we have over the last few hours. There's so much to cover when it comes to this internal conflict that started very quickly and escalated within the first few hours. We've had different factions of the rebels, essentially. So you have the Turkish-backed HTS, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. These are the Al-Qaeda-linked Islamists who are supported by Turkey and Erdogan's groups. They are hitting Assad's government as well as the Kurds and civilians. Then you have the Kurdish groups who are pro-democracy, the Kurdish Democratic Forces, and they are also hitting back at the Islamists, but they also oppose Bashar al-Assad. Then you also have the pro-democracy Syrians who are in the game as well, and at the same time the ISIS lot have basically combined their forces with HTS, and we're going to be giving you guys all the details. Last night the presidential palace was hit. There was a lot of shooting around it, and today we can now confirm that Assad's palace has been invaded and captured by the Turkish-backed Islamists. Now, this is a very, very messed up situation that we're dealing with. The question is, where is the president? He's still in Russia, clearly, because there was a lot of updates coming out yesterday. So they had the pro-Syrian regime TV, state TV, saying Assad returned to Damascus from Moscow. Then we had the Arab media saying, no, he's still in Moscow. In fact, his family have also fled Syria. They are in Russia. Then you had the others coming out to say he was in Russia. We know he was in Russia because he was visiting his friend Vladimir Putin. He came back, but they quickly left and went back to Russia. We can now confirm that after the last couple of days, obviously we had the Syrian regime and the Russian forces. They all withdrew from Aleppo and a number of other cities and towns, but Russians are now hitting the Islamist groups. The Russians are now sending out more equipment to hit back at the Turkish-backed Islamists. The timing of it is quite convenient, considering Assad was already in Moscow. So there's a lot of questions you can ask and speculate about why it happened now. Was it just a good opportunity for them, or did he know about the attack? So there's so many questions to be asked. The Russians are doing their offensives now against Erdogan's backed Islamists. We can also show you the video of the shooting outside the presidential palace. Then we're going to show you the latest video confirming that the Assad's palace had been invaded and captured. They actually filmed it themselves, the rebels, and posted it online. Let's go to the shooting. So that was the beginning of the situation outside the palace, and then obviously we had the confirmation that in Aleppo the presidential palace has been invaded by HTS, and obviously the complicated relationship between Turkey, Russia, and Syria is becoming even more complicated because the Syrians and the Russians are now threatening Turkey. Turkey is also getting involved directly by hitting the Kurds. It's convenient for them to also target the Kurds, and Christians are also being massacred right now. I mean, it's a tiny percentage, about 1% of the population Christian, but they are all being attacked by the Islamists. Let's go to the video we have from Assad's palace.
هاي من داخل قصر الرئيس. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
قدام الخنزير.
وهي الجاكوزي تبعه. لك حتى هاتفه شغال. حد لقى المطبخ؟
دورنا على المطبخ سياسته.
So that's the situation inside the presidential palace in Aleppo. Obviously, since 2 days ago when this whole thing escalated, today, over the last couple of hours, is the first time that we've actually had the Russians attacking the Islamists in Syria. The regime forces themselves are a little bit weak and disorganized. A lot of the soldiers and the security forces have been captured by the Turkish-backed rebels and the Islamists, which is embarrassing considering how much experience they're supposed to have controlling and maintaining peace and stability in Syria compared to a bunch of amateurish rebels and terrorists. But it's completely chaotic when you consider the situation when it comes to civilians. These are the Christian families who, and alongside the Kurds, who've all gone to the more Kurdish neighborhoods to be protected. And we now know that a lot of including the West and Israel, are going to be focusing on protecting them. We do have a statement from the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, on this issue, because Israel is also considering to help out with this whole situation, even though Assad is Netanyahu's enemy in this situation, because he knows if the outbreak of this situation in Syria just goes around like an infection, like a pandemic, it's not good for anybody in the region. In terms of the governments like Israel, but also civilians. You've got all the innocent population, Christians and Kurds and everybody else who are being massacred. So we have that to deal with, but we unfortunately have some concerning videos coming out, which is very similar to 7th of October 2023, because Kurdish girls, women, children are being kidnapped by the Turkish-backed Islamists. There is a video of a few of the Kurdish girls in a van being taken away by these terrorists. It's like a deja vu sort of situation. Let's watch this.
ارفعي راسك انتوا ارفعي راسك غطي لها شعرها ارفعي راسك يا خنزير انت وياها ارفعي راسك لهون انت ثانيه ارفعي راسك بالازرق شباب يا
Very sad, very concerning. And Erdogan obviously is causing a lot of trouble right now, the president of Turkey. It seems like there doesn't seem to be any push from the NATO side, because Turkey is a member of NATO and they continue to cause trouble across the region. But at the same time, it's difficult to see how they can actually bring everybody together, because that means if they're going to go against Erdogan, does that mean that the West will come across as they're going to be friendly with Assad? It's complicated because they've lost the friendship with Assad about 10 years ago. So, but as we said, we also have the Turks are getting ready to hit back. They are mobilizing the Syrian democratic forces. These are the pro-democracy Kurds. Technically, you can say these are the only good guys in this whole situation. The Kurds who are pro-democracy, even though they are socialist, but it doesn't matter because at least they believe in democracy, and they are simply, they don't do offensive themselves, they always do self-defense. Slightly different to the PKK groups who directly obviously do terrorism against the Turkish government. That's the Kurdistan Workers' Party. PKK, obviously, is a whole different thing. But Erdogan's argument is anybody who's a Kurd is basically a PKK terrorist. That's not true. It's just they're doing a stereotype. It's just an excuse to wipe out the Kurds. And while he's at it, why not just destroy the Christians as well? Just collateral damage, right? We do also have the Kurds getting ready. The Russians are hitting back, but also the Shias are getting involved. So the Iraqi-Iranian militias, the Shias, are mobilizing from Iraq. They are on their way to Syria to obviously oppose the Islamist rebellion against the Assad regime. Of course, Assad's allies are Shia, Hezbollah, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and others. He has a massive problem with Erdogan. And now the reaction from Israel and the Prime Minister, Netanyahu. He said, "We are constantly monitoring what is happening in Syria. We are determined to both protect the vital interests of Israel and preserve the achievements of the war." He knows that if this virus of Islamist Islamic terrorism spread like a pandemic, as I said, it's going to affect everybody, even though he has a problem with Assad's regime. Because that's a more of a geopolitical issue. That's a tactical issue that he has when it comes to Syria, hosting some of the Shia militants who want to help Hezbollah to attack Israel. I think at this point, the Israeli government don't really feel threatened by the Shia militants, by Hezbollah or anybody in Syria, because they've already done their operation in Lebanon and elsewhere. Israel every now and then also hit the terrorist sites around the Syrian border. I don't think right now Israel is paranoid about Assad's kind of wing of Shia militants that he's allowing them to be in Syria, backed by the IRGC. Because Netanyahu and the government in Israel clearly have a plan to deal with them anyway. Most of the Hezbollah infrastructure is gone. The Americans are saying something interesting. The US National Security Advisor has come out to say, "We were not surprised by the Syrian armed rebels exploiting the new circumstances." So the key thing about this is that considering he said it publicly, the Biden administration, does that mean that obviously in terms of the intelligence communities, they do communicate with each other? Have they told Assad and of course their allies, Israel, about this? If the Americans knew, and obviously you get the intelligence, CIA, they always get intel, they have assets on the ground. Some people knew something is happening, right? And they publicly say it wasn't really a surprise. So they clearly communicated it. Why was it not been able to be prevented by the Syrian regime? Why wasn't, well, at least publicly, why wasn't Erdogan stopped? And is that the reason that the timing of it, as in Assad going to Moscow for a trip and staying there, and now his family apparently have joined him in Moscow? Was that just for safety reasons? And again, goes back to my speculative theory, against just my opinion. Last night I said it seemed too good to be true that the Syrian regime and the Russians immediately withdrew. They didn't fight back. They allowed the Islamists to take over 50 towns and Aleppo and Homa and all the other places. Clearly, maybe they because they knew, they just allowed it to happen to let them get away with whatever they're doing for now, get them all together in one place, then come back and wipe them out. Perhaps that could be the strategy. So if you're an Islamist, part of HTS watching this, don't get too excited, because I'm pretty sure they're going to come for you sooner or later. So then we have the foreign minister of Iran, who's also decided to go to Damascus today, like an absolute nutter. Why would you risk his life? For the record, the rebels are currently targeting Damascus, right? Since last night. And the foreign minister, everybody's leaving Syria, Damascus. The foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, I'm going to go to Syria. It's like they just want the attention. Anyway, so he's there for now. I don't know if he's still in Damascus or has he gone back to Iran. There's a lot of the conversations between the Iranian regime and the Syrian government to ensure the safety of the regime in Damascus. We will find out how long it will take for the Russians and the Iranian regime and Assad's forces to take back control of this situation. It doesn't look good right now. It hasn't fallen. Syria hasn't actually fallen yet, and I don't know. It does. There's no need. There's no reason for it to fall this easily. It will be embarrassing if Syria falls this easily, like Afghanistan. That was a whole different situation. Assad has survived this thing for over 10 years. There is no reason why he should fail this. But at the same time, the bombing of the rebels, the Russians have started this, but nothing's actually happening yet in terms of the impact. But of course, we will keep you guys posted. Let's get some reaction on this. Flossy Tops, thank you for your super chat, saying congratulations to you, Maya, on your engagement. Thank you very much. Yep. And Peter, non-super chat, says, if they take Damascus, it's all over. Yeah, oh, of course. But I still can't see it. I can't see it happening because it would just be too easy. Perhaps if I were to add another conspiracy theory to this whole saga, apart from the Syrians and the Russians knew they allowed it to happen so they get all the terrorists to be in one place, then wipe them out. Apart from that, that's just a tactic. It goes back to Erdogan, right? Erdogan has been a bit of a problem for everybody. Erdogan is fascinating. The Turkish regime are essentially disliked by Israel, by Iran for different reasons, by Syria for this reason, by the Russians for provoking the Middle East, basically by everybody. And they're currently disliked by the West because as a NATO member, they are traitors to the Western side. Everybody basically dislikes Erdogan. If I were to just add a crazy conspiracy theory, is that they allowed it to happen so that Erdogan gets exposed so they could go after Erdogan. But again, it's just too good to be true. Carlson says, you know it's bad when the rebels are shouting Allahu Akbar. At least you know where you stand with them, I guess. Okay, from Israel says, one can link Assad forces' failure to the degraded state of the Russian mercenaries currently kept in Syria. This is caused by the need to redirect as many as possible forces to prioritize Ukrainian expansion. I agree. It's a good point about that because obviously without the Russian support in Syria, Assad would struggle. But surely Assad's forces, especially after what's been going on for the past 10 years, and about 10 years ago with the civil war, and considering they've had support from the Russians and the Iranian regime, practice, training, professional equipment, surely they should be able, on their own, to stop a bunch of nutters, right? There weren't many of them. I mean, we don't have the exact number of the terrorists, right? Surely, if you're a normal government, you won't really need a foreign country like Russia or Iran to always be there to protect you. It's just a random rebellion. Just shoot them down. But again, if that's the case, as Kirka says, that means Assad's regime are weak and feeble. They can't defend themselves without the Russians or the IRGC. And that is just embarrassing for everybody. Because Assad sells himself as a strong and stable dictator. I will bring down anybody who wants to bring me down. On your own, or do you need your mommy and daddy to help you? Super sticker, thank you so much for that. And also Mark Barnes, thank you so much, sir. Anthony says, pray for peace. Yep. Mike says, America and the United Nations want this situation to turn into World War III before the Donald can be inaugurated, thus bringing about the WEF's wet dream. Yeah, it's not going to happen, obviously. They can try their best. the things that happen in the Middle East take ages, good and bad. Hander says, how can you call yourself a journalist? You are not a journalist. If there were no YouTube, will you still call yourself a journalist? Yes, because 2CTV is not just a platform on YouTube, my darling troll. We also have our independent platform on our own website, and the app is also coming on 2CTV Plus. Go on 2C.tv or 2CTVplus.tv, and you can also join 2CTV Plus to get access to the rest of the uncensored shows and premium shows and documentaries. So, ladies and gentlemen who are trolls and believe this nonsense, yes, get more out of 2CTV's journalism. Our team worked really hard. And yes, without YouTube, we will still call 2CTV a news channel. Lee says, hi, Mr. Ami2C, that's my dad in the live chats, yes. Stu says, there is such a lack of strong leaders that we always vote for the lesser of two evils. Now Israel may bail out Assad, as in Assad. Yeah. Well, they're going to have to, temporarily. Investigative journalism doesn't require a diploma. Yeah, I mean, you don't need any qualification to be a journalist. Just do your job. Get the facts, report it, done. And you can also add your opinion, because journalism is not really just about facts. It's also about opinion. Be careful, Maya. The rebels are not our friends. Are you just repeating what I'm saying? You're just saying what I'm saying. They're a bunch of Islamist terrorists. If and when Assad retakes his losses, will you give this same platform prominence? What platform? Is everybody being crazy tonight in the live chat? Or am I the crazy one? Or just like... There are a bunch of Islamist terrorists who should not be winning this. We don't even like Assad. But no, do not support the Al-Qaeda style, ISIS style HTS nutters backed by Erdogan. They are bad people, as we've been saying for the past 2-3 days now. And that's what we have to report this. We have to expose them for who they are. I don't know what that last sentence means, the same platform prominence, because obviously Toxicity will continue to report on geopolitical matters, as we've been reporting about Syria before this civil war and afterwards as well, with or without Assad or Assad. If Saddam Hussein hadn't been deposed, discipline in the areas would be a lot better. Yes and no. Even though he was a cruel tyrant, stability was maintained in a lot of areas. Yes, so it is fairly true. Let's not forget that the strategy by the Western side to just remove dictators and try to install other dictators or democracy didn't work. Terrible idea. We know that. It started in Iran, 1979, CIA, France, Britain backed the Islamists with the coup against the Shah of Iran. That started it. Obviously in Iraq, with Saddam, Gaddafi in Libya. But there is a point to be made about Saddam Hussein individually, because he was becoming a bit of a problem for everybody. Not just about America, because, you know, there was a time when Saddam and America were close, especially against Iran. But the reality is, Saddam, it wasn't what Bush was saying about nuclear weapons, things like that. Overall, Saddam was being problematic. Sort of like the best way I can actually compare him is to Erdogan right now. Erdogan in Turkey right now is basically what Saddam would have been if he had stayed in power. I'm not saying that means we should have removed him, but I'm just saying that he wouldn't have necessarily been the sort of dictator that you could think of, for example, like Assad. You know, tyrant, but at least he was keeping stability. So Saddam was a very specific case. He was a little bit quickie. So, especially his sons. Julie says, Maya, thank you, Julie, for your super chat. Maya, the USA military bases in the UK and the one in the US have had drones hovering over them. They are not hobbyists, but are described as unusual. The Pentagon has been cagey, and many think they are Russian spy drones. Thoughts? Yeah, but unfortunately with these things, you will never know, because the only way you could find out the truth, unless you find a way to go there and find out what they actually are, the only way is to rely on the official statements from the government, the American government and the British government. And nowadays, we don't know if we can trust what they say, whether it's the Russian drones or ET coming down from his planet, or I don't know, just them doing it and blaming it on other people. It's very difficult to tell. So it's one of those that no journalist could be able to really to tell you the actual answer unless they have access to leaked documents. That's the issue. Obviously, if we find out anything, I will let you know. Michelle, thank you very much for your generous super chat. Unnecessary, saying treat yourselves to a nice meal or gift as a congrats to you both. Oh, this is an engagement gift. Say that's fine. Thank you so much. Also, Christmas is coming, so Stu says, I'm not crazy. My mom had me tested. All right, Sheldon Cooper. We have Mark. Thank you again. Anthony says, Maya, you are amazing. I'm a huge fan of your work. Keep doing what you do. Stop flirting, Anthony. I'm engaged now. Trooper Bear says, guilty, born and curd. So there is actually, where is that person gone? My favorite troll today. Is he still here or? Big fake alien stuff incoming. Yes. Someone says, not drones, they are UFOs. We don't know. Lisa says, told you it's Turkey's fault. Usually it's Turkey's fault. Whenever something happens anywhere in the world, I just blame Turkey. Not always, but obviously. Erdogan is an easy target because, the guy is a little bit weird anyway. So he's unnecessarily weird. It makes no sense. His tyranny is weird. There doesn't seem to be any objective to it. And again, at least you know where you stand with Hassan Nasrallah. Well, not stand anymore. Lie down on the ground, I guess. Even with the Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, you kind of know what he wants. He just wants to cause trouble to preserve power for himself and his regime because of his legacy. So you could say, I'm basically one of the Shia imams. Put me on the list. I'll be the 14th imam, even though the 13th one went missing and apparently he disappeared and went to heaven. God knows, the Shia side are weird as well. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, good luck Erdogan and his revival of the Ottoman Empire, which will never happen. We're going to keep you guys posted on this and all the other issues. I'm Maya TC, and we are the media.